Edition of Richardson Plano Networking, everybody. And many of you probably already know Jeff Klein. It is through Jeff's assistance that we get many of our speakers, but he's also a speaker himself. And today he's going to speak on speaking as a business strategy. So positioning yourself as the expert in front of the room will drive revenue to any business. Practical speaking solutions from the expert on business speaking. Jeff successfully booked 250 speaking engagements in 3 years. You don't need to learn from your mistakes. It's much less painful to learn from someone else's. Jeff Klein is a speaker and trainer who has received rave reviews, speaking over 600 times, reaching over 15,000 business professionals. He's the author of 30 Seconds to Success, Generating Referrals with Your Elevator Pitch, and the upcoming Speaking as a Business Strategy, 9 Laws to Business Speaking Success. So please, without further ado, please welcome Jeff Klein.
Thanks, Randy. I appreciate that. So today we're going to talk about speaking as a business strategy. And what we mean is the difference between public speakers, which is a job title, and what we like to call business speakers. And business speakers are people who are not looking to change their job title. They are accountants and consultants and coaches and attorneys and even landscapers and architects and engineers. And it may say speaker as the second or third thing on their business card, but they're not looking to become a public speaker as their profession. They use speaking to get leads and clients, and what we like to call speaking to get paid. I'm going to share just a couple of data points that I had researched just to give you a rough idea of the opportunities for speaking. So these are under low estimates. These are conservative numbers. There's about 20,000 Rotary clubs in America alone. If each of them has a speaker for 40 weeks, that's 800,000 speakers a year that are needed just by Rotary. Some of the other numbers, chambers of commerce, networking groups, associations, we're looking at least over 1.5 million speaking opportunities in America alone every year. And what's important about these opportunities is they will never pay their speakers a fee. So public speakers, again, they seek the fee and they believe that's what their mission is, but there are more opportunities to speak without a fee. But as I like to quote Zig Ziglar directly, there's no such thing as a free speech. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I've shared a link in the chat for the worksheet we're going to work from today. You should all be able to just click and download that worksheet from Dropbox. And I'll share the screen a little bit off and on, but I prefer to be talking to you instead of to be reading from a worksheet. So I fell into speaking as a business strategy completely by accident or by karma or by intelligent design, perhaps. And I had my business at the time was an ad agency, and I started that agency in 2001. And a few years later, I connected with an organization called which is now called CEO Space. And every Friday, CEO Space had a lunch where they taught the 30-second elevator pitch. Some of you may remember Kendall Lee Pernin from some of your networking back then in 2004, 2005. And the organization also had a weekly evening meeting. So first I wound up helping Kendall Lee with the weekly lunches. And then people started asking me to help them at their groups by coming and speaking about the 30-second commercial and teaching it the way we were doing it every Friday. And I checked with her, and she wasn't looking to do that. And I realized that speaking about networking was a logical way to promote advertising, because networking is the most basic form of advertising. So I started going, getting invited to some networking groups, and did that for a little while. And then somebody called and said, "Hey, Jeff, we want you to come back and do a workshop for us, and we'll pay you." And I kind of went, okay. I never wanted to turn down money for being creative. And it turned out that people were willing to pay for training. And that became another profit center that was separate from advertising, but came out of speaking. And then in 2006, I created a CD on the training I was doing, and started selling the CD, because what I realized and what I discovered was that I would go and speak to a room full of business people, and 10 or 20% of them were prospects for advertising, to have a website or a TV commercial or an advertising campaign. But 100% of them were a prospect for a $20 CD. And of course, now I sell it as an MP3 download. We don't, very few people even have CD players anymore. But we used to sell it physically, and now it's all virtual, like this meeting is all virtual. And I hope you folks have downloaded the worksheet. I want to look at it and go back and forth addressing what we've got on there, because what I've done is I've listed the things that go into speaking for business, speaking as a business strategy. And I've created this checklist that helps people get ready to do that. And everybody who attends this group certainly understands the model of speaking for business, because those are the speakers that Dave and Randy bring in every week. They are business speakers, people speaking to get leads and clients. And if you entertain, and if you give value, and if you, most of all, give the people in the room things they can use right away from your talk, then you've earned the right to say at the end, in the last minute or so, here's how we can work together. Here's how you can hire me for my services. Here's my information. Let's schedule an appointment. Let's talk. And then you wind up getting, again, leads and clients. So that's the model. You speak, you give value, which is in my 9 laws book. The number 1 law is give value. And so we're going to definitely give the room value first. And so what I've done is I've got this checklist. I'm going to touch on some of these. I'm not going to actually go point by point by point, but what I'd like to do is encourage you to ask questions. If you have them, make comments if you have them, because I don't really lecture. This should be a conversation. So I want you to share your experiences. I want you to ask questions about situations. And as Randy talked about, learn from some of my mistakes, because it's a lot less painful than learning from your own. One of the things I like to share with folks is what we do in this work, because I've done it for a while and I've got the bruises and the road rash, is let's take years off of your journey, because I did them, and I did the sweat equity. You don't have to, because we've blazed the trail. It's clear for you to walk on now. So first of all, you need to have a strategy. Some people speak strictly to sell a product. To me, that's not the best use for speaking. The best use is to create opportunities. So your strategy needs to be around what it is you want to achieve. Are you looking to get clients for your firm? That's the strongest opportunity. But one of the things you can do along the way is have extra revenue streams, like I wound up doing with my CD and workshops. In 2010, I actually shut down my ad agency, phased it out, and turned Speaker Co-op into my business. And Speaker Co-op is a website. Primarily, it's a website where you find speakers, but it's also a training ground for people to do this work and benefit from being in front of audiences for their businesses. So you want to make sure, again, you're going to deliver value. And one of the ways to make sure you get in front of audiences is to have attractive topic titles, not just leadership or team building. You need to have a title that somebody looks at on paper and says, oh, I'd like to hear more about that. So there is an opportunity to be creative. And if you're not creative, then there are plenty of folks you can get help with to create, to become more creative. The same people who help you with your logos and your branding are also good resources for attractive topic titles. But the other thing that I want to say about topics is you don't need, well, actually, you won't get booked if you're speaking about your business as a commodity. So, for example, nobody is going to book a speaking topic called how to have a great roof or how to have a great experience with a roofer. On the other hand, that roofer has plenty of other experience, like how to deliver great customer service, how to work with contractors who come to your home. There's a bunch of different options, how to prospect, how to build leads, all of which are titles and content that groups would be interested in. So you're not going to create a talk necessarily that's specifically about your business, but one that leads into your business, like my networking training led into the advertising business. I did have, occasionally people, we have to try to, again, help people along. I did have somebody who wanted to teach about specifically how to make good kitchens or something like that. And I, explained to him that nobody is going to book that because it's obviously a 20-minute commercial. It's all about a value proposition for the audience, again, like lead generation, sales tips, social media tips, team building, customer service. There's plenty of opportunities to teach something from your expertise that ties into what you do for a living. I've painted a couple of pictures of an avatar of who fits this model. One of the ideas was that a tree surgeon, a tree service, could teach people how to create a green office, how to make an office sustainable and how to make that profitable to have a sustainable office. And it's a natural title for somebody in a field like landscaping or tree service or something like that. And I created that story around 2010, I think, 2010, 2011. And then just last year, I actually had a tree service show up as a prospective client, and they already wanted to teach people about having a more green and sustainable office. And I at first, when they first contacted me, I thought somebody was playing a joke because I had made up this story a few years ago. And so once I made sure it wasn't somebody trying to prank me, I sent them a copy of the original story about the tree surgeon who wanted to help people with sustainable offices. So never underestimate when you create something that it might not wind up showing up as a real thing in your inbox. That was a funny experience. Okay, so some of these other things, web presence and having a letter of agreement helps you. I think when I first started helping Dave with speakers, I sent him the letter of agreement. Since we do it so regularly now, we don't send one for each speaker, but that's because we have a working relationship. The letter of agreement is important for you if you're speaking because it makes sure little things happen, like you get fed if the meeting has a lunch and you don't have to buy your own meal. A letter of agreement makes sure that when we're back to in-person meetings, you're able to collect business cards from the people attending the event. Because one of the really important things, if you're creating, you're using this as your lead generation, then you need to be able to get the contact information of everybody in the room. Of course, you don't want to spam them, but you get their contact information with the permission that you're going to send them something, and they can obviously opt out. But it's all about reaching out to the people that know who you are to turn them into your fans. The workshop webinar, again, that's another way to create a product, an extra revenue stream for your business that you might not have been doing before. There's a lot of folks who only get paid when they're working with their clients or on their clients' stuff, like accountants and attorneys, but they can create info products as in the form of webinars and audio and video recordings that they can sell. And we call that money while you sleep. And there's really no reason, even if you don't adopt speaking, that you couldn't create some info products for your business to have little bits of revenue that just help improve your bottom line. And sometimes we call that low-hanging fruit. So somebody would be interested in learning about what it is that you do in a way that they're willing to pay $20 or $100 or what have you. So even if you're not going to get into speaking, consider creating some info products around your business, because it is an opportunity that a lot of folks don't pay attention to. Any questions, comments so far? Feel free to jump in and unmute yourself. No worries. Okay, so one of the things that, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I would love your input on establishing the web presence, because it is so time consuming. Because my website has sat stagnant for a year, and it's mostly because I just feel so overwhelmed with putting on content on my website when I'm in social media. Could you speak to that?
Sure, Irene, I'd be glad to. It's when you're driving, a speaking to promote your business, you want to make sure that what you're doing with social media is letting people know that you're a speaker. And the easiest way to do that is by posting things before and after the talks that you give. So, I posted yesterday that I was thrilled to be speaking here at this group. I included the link so people could come and check it out if they wanted to. And afterwards, I'll be posting how much, what a good time I had and what a great group this is. And that goes on my public profile. So everybody and the logarithms and how many people actually see what you're doing, that I can't address because I'm not a social media expert, but I'm posting about speaking so that people know that's part of what I do.
Okay, my question was directed more toward the website as opposed to social media, which I do. Do you think it's crucial to have an updated website that's very interactive, or it's okay just to focus on the social media?
It's not really my area of expertise, but from my perspective and from the perspective of a creative business, you want to be updating regularly because that increases your opportunity to be found. But the way I use my websites is to store the stuff that I've posted on social media. So I'll do videos on social media, and then they'll live at my website for people to watch later.
Got it. Thank
Randy.
you.
Yeah. Okay, good. Randy?
Yeah, I'm working with somebody right now, and they're trying to put everything that they know and every experience they've ever had onto their website. So I think
trying to put everything they know, and every experience they've ever had
on their website. I think, Irene, part of the answer is keep it simple. Just give enough information to give yourself some credibility, and then leave a place for them to reach out to you afterwards.
And if you are speaking for your business, you want to have a speaking page on your website and a tab that shows you as a speaker with some pictures and some testimonials and things like that. So you just want to relate what you're doing. You want to fully show people what you're doing when you're speaking for business, so that it's up front. It's not a secondary thought as well. So there you go. Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Irene. Good. Anyone else on some of the things about getting ready before the talk? So when you're giving a talk, the number one thing that people are looking for now is actual practical tools and tips, things that the audience can use. And the more valuable your talk is, the more likely you're going to get engagement and have people want to become your customer. You know, if you show people in the 20-minute talk or the 40, whatever the case may be, but most of these are 20-minute talks. If you show people how much you can solve the problems that they have in their life or their business, then they're more likely to engage with you and want to know more. And that's really what the whole thing is about, is you want people to want more of you. And the way they get more is to opt into your newsletter and is to hire you to help them in their life or their business, depending on what they do for a living. Oh, Mako got some balloons. Get well, balloons. There you go. Sorry.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In speaking, in-person speaking, back in the day for a gentleman, it was coat and tie, period. What is your opinion on that today? The standards for dress have really gone awry. Now, if you're speaking to a group of plumbers, do you wear a coat and tie? I would say no. What's your opinion?
Well, I think that one of the things about how you dress is about portraying your brand. And then the other piece is about the audience you're speaking to. You know, if you go into a room, now see, there's plumbers and then there's people who own plumbing companies. So if you're, well, now that's not the right dress code. So sorry, Kevin, we're seeing your guest there behind you. Oh boy. So now we have another story to tell. Okay. So to answer your question, Steve, first with for example, one of the things about my brand is I'm about being fun and casual. So I don't wear a tie when I speak anymore, but I always wear at least a collared shirt. I don't wear a t-shirt. I don't wear jeans. I wear slacks and a collar for me, because my brand to represent my brand, I wear the colors in my logo. I wear blue, purple, or orange. And that's my brand. If I was a suit and tie guy, I would not wear my jacket speaking to a room full of plumbers. I would actually go by the job interview recommendation, where they say dress one step up from what you would wear at work for the interview. I would probably do the one. So I would probably wear a shirt and tie if I was a tie guy, wear a shirt and tie for the plumbers without a jacket. So that you know, they say that for the job interview, you should dress one step up from there. So, but that's a good question. And for business speaking, even with its being virtual, I still didn't want to show up with a t-shirt. I want to at least look like I dress for a professional lunch, which, even though we're not sitting at the restaurant eating, this is a professional meeting and I want to appear professionally. And so thank you for that question. Good question. And then there's some other things involved in that when we're doing virtual that we didn't have to think about before, like what's happening behind us. You know, my background includes some of my branding about being fun and casual, because you can see Walt Disney characters and Warner Brothers characters on the shelf behind me, because that fits in with my brand. Sometimes if you see the top of the shelf, there's Wishbone and Bart Simpson and things like that. So I always want to be a little bit light and casual, and my background represents that. And I'm actually have a Cowboys clock that I haven't, see, look at that, wrong one. I have a Dallas Cowboys clock I haven't hung on the wall yet, but it'll be going up pretty soon. And so you're with the virtual, you also have to consider what's happening behind you. And that's true as the speaker, but it's also true as an audience. I've seen some folks whose offices are consist of, they're organized in piles, and they have left the piles up behind them for their Zoom meetings. And I just don't think it conveys a professional outlook. Do you want to hire the messy person to work for you? And most of the time the answer is no. So do remember, anytime you appear on video, and this one's being recorded. This is for posterity. So that consider that along with your dress, what's happening behind you with the video part, the virtual meetings. So thanks for that, Steve. Any other thoughts before I'll go on about the actual talk itself? I think when you're doing the talk itself, you want to, again, you're going to be delivering value. But one of the things that I talk about folks using, and I'll share my screen again, is what I call a speaker kit. And that is where you have your handouts, you have some signs and sign holders, because one of the things we ask for as the speaker is a table to put our stuff on. And we want to make sure that when we're back live, we put that table near the door so people have to go past it twice to see your information, your books, flyers about your business, perhaps handouts about your speaking itself. And you want to do, like Randy read, an introduction. You want to have an introduction prepared. You don't want people to just read your bio off of LinkedIn or what have you. Your introduction is a little bit different than your typical bio because they have different purposes. Your bio is to get people to be interested in attending the meeting, and your introduction is to help set the stage for people to become your fans, followers, and customers. I think it's important to have a handout. And does anybody have an idea about the primary reason that I advocate for a handout? Any thoughts?
I would say that a handout is critical for folks to have information about you and your business and what you do. And also, in case you have members of the press, you want to have a speaker kit with a handout as additional information for them as well.
Exactly, Irene. The main reason that you create a worksheet is because people are going to take notes on it and they'll take it home with them. And so it must have your contact information on it. Even if you're doing a spotlight for a group that you belong to, you should have a handout with your contact information, because they will then take it home and be able to refer to it later. And then they've got your information, which is what you want, right? So good answer. Thanks, Irene. That's exactly it. Yes, Dick. You're still muted.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You bet.
What's your view on the future of speaking virtually? Advantages, disadvantages, trend?
Well, I think, and Dave's already proven this in one sense for us, is that this meeting is now a virtual meeting with no intention of going back to it being in person. So the Wednesday group will go back to networking at some point, but the Friday group is going to be virtual from now until the end of time, as it were. So I think that the trend is going to go that way. I'm considering doing that for my monthly speaker co-op meeting, making it virtual only. It sure takes a lot of work off the planner if they don't have to deal with a restaurant and a location and guarantees of food and all kinds of things like that. And now that people are used to consuming information this way, it just makes a lot of sense to do it this way. So I think more and more people are going to be doing it. The other thing that I'm finding, and I'm actually asking this when I contact groups, because I contact groups all over, everywhere they speak English now, I'm soliciting the chance for my clients and myself to speak. So I'm also putting in my comments to them is that as long as you have a screen and an internet connection, we can bring you great content as long as you're willing, as long as you want it. So I see groups, even when they get back together, being much more open to virtual speakers because we've gotten used to it.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. And for my business, because a big chunk of what I do is book my clients into groups, it's been really powerful for me. And it's the kind of thing I should have thought of before, but now that we're sort of forced to be from home, it really makes a difference. And I've just got so many more opportunities for me and my clients. Bill did ask a question on the chat. I want to go back and talk a little more about the speaker kit. I actually have, for me, it's actually a cart on wheels, and it's got all my materials for my speaking engagements in it. In other words, it has my worksheet and my enrollment form, and handouts and flyers and sign holders. And it's always in the trunk of my car, because you never know when somebody's going to say to you, hey, we lost our speaker isn't going to show up today. Do you have something you can help us with? And more than once, I have been the Johnny on the spot to be able to say, you bet. And I even have worksheets in the car, and gone out and, done the 20-minute talk without having been on the schedule. So, and if you're an author and you don't have a box of your books in your car, I think you're just missing out, because there's always going to be opportunities for somebody to want to buy your book, even if it's just somebody you're having a conversation with. Oh, you're an author? How do I get your book? Well, I have some in the trunk of my car. And that's a lot better than sending them to an Amazon link, because the Amazon link doesn't make you very much money. So I'll throw that out there too. Good. Do you cover what you were asking, Bill? Thank you. All right. So on to the, let's see, I just want to pull up the share again for a moment. Double click, there we go. You want to make sure that it's easy to buy you. So that means having an app on your phone so you can swipe people's credit cards in the room. Because one of the reasons you're there is to generate revenue for your business. So let's make sure we actually do that. And then, of course, excuse me, after the meeting, you want to have a follow-up strategy. That may be a specific email. One of my follow-up strategies is first of all, I give away something in the room. It's a great way to collect business cards and promote your products as well. And then I do a follow-up email congratulating the person who won and letting the rest of the room know they can still buy what they won after the fact for a different special price than the one that is offered in the room. Because when you offer a special price in the room and you say it's only good in the room, then you need to remain in integrity and only do that, because it's not fair to the people who bought in the room to give people the same deal the next day. Online, it's a little bit different. We've come up with some other strategies, such as creating, and I'm going to be sharing a link later on to show what I'm offering today, because you need to have you need to work around your situation because I can't pass out something and pick up your cards, but thankfully everybody shared their information in the chat, so I can still build my follow-up and have my touch program. And a touch program is simply a newsletter. And when I ask people for their cards, I tell them that I'll be adding them to my newsletter, and that that I stick with the spam laws, and the newsletter has a button that they can opt out on. And some people choose not to share their card, and that's their prerogative. So there's that. Other questions about just the concept of speaking for business, or does anybody have an experience, maybe good or bad, that because we learn from the bad ones too? Yes, Dick. Make sure you unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Okay. If online, is there an ideal length? I mean, there's 30 seconds, there's 10 minutes, there's 30 minutes. What do you think?
Well, when they do the surveys, they say that the average podcast listener listens for something like 15 minutes, but the average podcast is an hour long. So So some things don't align. Usually, again, when you're speaking for meetings, they've got an agenda with a set time, and that's what they're used to having. So the constraint is already there for you. And 90% of the time, it's 20 to 25 minutes. If you're asking, talking about attention span and things like that, on again, social media, if I click on somebody's video and it's 9 minutes, I don't watch anymore. But if it's 3 to 5 minutes, I'll stick with it and watch it. Most of mine are under 3 minutes when I'm doing social media videos, wanting people to pay attention the whole time. There are people who do 40-minute videos on Facebook Live and get good response. So there's really no one answer, but there are some answers, as I said, based on data. But when it comes to speaking for business, the client tells you how long you have.
Okay. Yeah, the 30-minute thing works if you've got the magic cure for,
Right. Well, again, you're part of a built-in agenda already. So that's that constraint is set for you, and so actually that leads me to I'll talk about this. A lot of people struggle to cover their content in 20 minutes, and what I teach folks to do is create 8 to 10 minute segments of their content. So for example, 9 laws to speaking success. I'm not going to give you 9 laws in 20 minutes. I'm going to give you 2 laws in 20 minutes because in 8 to 10 minutes, I can tell a story and teach a lesson. And if you give me 30 minutes, I'll teach 3 of them. And if you give me 40 minutes, I'll teach 4, etc. So I teach my clients to chunk their content down into those 8 to 10 minute segments so that it's easy for them to do a 20-minute talk. Too often, and this to me is a big no-no, too often, not only do people try to cram everything into 20 minutes, but they tell you ahead of time that this is a 2-day workshop and I'm cramming it into 20 minutes. So they're kind of telling the audience that they're ripping them off and doing them a disservice. Instead of saying, here's where, I have the 5 steps to better health. Today, we're going to talk about 2 of them. So I encourage speakers to never say, I don't have time for the rest of my stuff. On the contrary, say, we're going to talk about 2 today. And at the end of your talk, I've got an audio that you can listen to all 5. Or a workshop where I'll teach you all 5. So, and that, that part of that conversation goes back to something about before the talk, and that is to communicate with your event planner, your meeting coordinator. Usually it's a volunteer committee person, and ask them questions about the group. Find out about who's going to be in the room, because that will help you give a better talk and connect with the audience better. One of the things you want to try to do as a speaker is create an experience. And some of the exercises we would do in the room are harder to do virtually, but other things like asking people questions and getting audience participation are easy to do by the Zoom and the video. So any other questions, comments?
Yeah, Jeff, we've got about 5 minutes, so
I understand.
if you want to go ahead and make your offer, and then if we have any time, or put your offer in the thing, explain what you've put out there, that would be awesome.
I got you. So Patricia, what's your question?
My only comment is I've known you for a long time. I've used a lot of the information and done a lot of great talks along the way, having my group of stuff ready, my free jewelry cleaner. The one thing that I did find out is that if I possibly can, I will ask what the audience would like to hear from me about my industry. And then I can go from there.
That's good too. And because you're an expert, you don't have to prepare ahead of time, because you know how to answer that question right off the cuff. So that's really good too. And that's a question you can ask the meeting planner when you're you're setting up ahead of time as well. So what I've done is I made it easy to become a member of Speaker Co-op. I just posted the link, and I've got some specials, some extra coaching time with me, and some online video training that's free if you join Speaker Co-op using this web link. Or if you upgrade, if you're currently a member, you can also upgrade and get the extra specials. That link is good until the end of business today, and then I'll be changing the pricing on that page. So if you want to take advantage of it later, again, I want to be fair to the people that made the decision to join Speaker Co-op today. And Dave is a member, Bill is a member. We have a ton of education on the website. So take advantage, because if you join today, you get some of my time as well. So I'm glad to help you with that. That being said, there's tons of ways to promote your business. Speaking is an amazing one. I encourage you to dive in and give it a shot.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.